Walker Talker. The Walker Talker. Walker Talker.
Welcome to the Walker Talker. Welcome to the Walker Talker. Welcome to the Walker Talker. Welcome to the Walker Talker. So let's get to talking.
Welcome to the Walker Talkers indeed. How have you guys been? AA Ron here.
Pete here.
And welcome back to the Walker Talkers presented by PanNerdia.
We're back.
We are back and better than ever. We got a new set. I mean, look at all this awesome stuff.
Yes, PanNerdia Studios has upgraded us quite a bit.
We even had a nice new theme song with the Walker Talkers, so I hope you guys enjoyed that one. That was a lot of fun there, as well as the little theme songs and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, we're here not only to talk about what's to come in Season 9 and why we're excited and why we're not excited, as well as what happened with a quick recap on Season 8 as a whole, just to kind of catch us up to where the season premiere of Season 9 is tonight. And like they've been promoting, though, Pete, it's Rick Grimes' last episodes.
Yeah, the promotions suck. I understand that like they spotted him in London or something while they were probably filming the second half of this upcoming season, and that kind of blew the whistle there. So they went ahead and decided to go full force with just promoting the last episodes of Rick Grimes.
Yeah.
The stupid folk music that sounds like hipster folk music that they play over it. I want to break the TV. Like, you're killing Rick, you're making me listen to that while you're telling me.
Yeah, and then kind of slowly foreshadow hyping up Negan as maybe the new Rick or something. It's like, oh man, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
tonight,
Negan's lover boy of Kirkman, I guess, including Gimple.
Yeah.
They both love him to death. And the little Jimmy Dean sausage, it's their favorite thing.
Well, actually, I just remembered, and I forgot to put the picture in our reel. But before we get started, guys, we do want to go ahead and say, you know, our deepest regrets and sorries for the family of Scott Wilson or Herschel Green on The Walking Dead. He will be missed. Yeah, very epic.
I'm sure his career was very epic too. I mean, the guy was a great actor. And I just got done watching Season 2 yesterday.
Oh, wow,
so
yeah.
I was blowing through for some material for future Walker Talker episodes of flashbacks and whatnot. And, you know, I was touched quite a bit because I'm a father and all that too. And watching all the stuff that went down with Carl being shot in the farmhouse. And then Herschel talking to Rick, and the conversations they had were golden. And I don't think anyone else could have done what Scott did.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Wilson. Well, Scott Wilson, yes.
Yeah.
Scott Wilson, he came in there and knocked it out of the park, man. I mean, even just the outpour, you know, from all his fans and the ones who've worked with him as loved ones today, like in social media and whatnot. It's really sad to see him go, and he put a big impact on a lot of, even Mark Hamill's life. Mark Hamill, he was a really good friend with him. Worked with him in some movies.
I thought you were going to say Mark Hamill's dead too.
No.
Oh my god.
I'm like, oh man, that would be too much.
Should we have a in memoriam show, whatever?
Right. But yeah, so we wanted to send our love out to the friends and families and everybody else affected by this. He will be missed.
Rest in peace,
Scott Wilson, a.k.a. Herschel.
Herschel Green.
A.k.a. Spaghetti Wednesdays on Tuesday. I think something like that, right?
Yes, that's true. I'm sure he. That was from the prison when they were at the prison, right? Spaghetti thing. Or no?
That or when they first started. Yeah, maybe it was at the prison.
I think it was prison. They're just talking about.
Yeah.
But he was so good on the farm and in the prison and in between. Like the fact that he played the role of someone that was convinced there was a cure, and he kept his family and friends in the barn and all that.
Oh yeah, man.
Like that whole passionate scene where, you know, Shane blows away the walker and it's still coming and stuff like that. And then the next episode's my favorite of Herschel's, which is Nebraska, where Rick and Glenn have to go to the tavern.
Oh yeah, the tavern episode.
And
yeah,
talk them to coming back, and then they get trapped there for a little bit from humans. And yeah, one of my favorites. So Scott Wilson, man, sorry to see you go in Walking Dead, and sorry to see you go in real life.
You will be missed, my friend. And speaking of friends, before we get going here with this little shindig, we got to introduce a friend that you guys may remember from last season, but even he's got upgraded with some new gigs.
He is kind of a higher up now in show business, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
higher
right.
Up. I guess you could see he's moved on up in show business, and sometimes we have to call him down and visit us here at PanNerdia Studios.
Hey, Jackson, get your ass down here.
What?
What
the? Jackson!
What up?
My God, you scared me, man. Oh my God, his legs. That's okay. We'll give you your legs back. And you know what? You'll see a lot more of Jackson here on PanNerdia via Walker Talkers, because we're planning on having him at least once or twice on all of our episodes. Jackson agreed to deliver us messages for you, the fans, because starting the next episode after we watch episode 1 of season 9, Jackson will be delivering our requests, and some of them being things like best ofs, like the fans. What was your best mass herd walker scene? What was your best walker kill scene? What was the most impactful human kill? Also, just what was your favorite episode? Or in real life, if there was an apocalypse like this, what would be your weapon of choice if you could design it or combine it or just pick it? So Jackson will be there for us to include those little fun factoids and things to share with the fans. We hope you guys comment. And yeah, so Jackson, I guess are you going back upstairs?
Let's go back up. I see you, man.
There he goes. He's such a lightweight, I swear. Anyway. Oh God! Now he's not done with you. Sorry.
Jackson, you want to come hang down here, Jackson, for a little bit? Why don't you just get off your high horse?
All right.
Come chill with the homies for a little bit.
Yeah, I guess you'll put him up. Yeah, that's okay.
Oh yeah, you want
just one level. There you go. Perfect. Like he's coming out of the crypt there.
Yeah. All right. So before we get started, and speaking of how we'll kind of see Jackson from week to week, we'll kind of give you guys kind of a generic lowdown of how the shows will go on from here on out. Except for this show, this is more of a pre-show celebration, so this will be formatted a little more freeform. But in the weeks to come, as we review season 9, it'll be broken down somewhat like this. We'll introduce ourselves. We'll start with a synopsis of the episode proper.
Shorter one than last year.
Right, just to kind of keep things flowing.
Yeah.
From there, we'll go to... So let's get our trusty thing here. Kind of like outcomes, and kind of what we would have thought or what we would have done different, or what we would like to see happen different than what actually happened that episode.
And trust me, if you're a Walker Talkers fan or a Walking Dead fan, you definitely would appreciate a different outcome, especially when it comes to Carl, Rick, and maybe even some Negan scenarios, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, and like we said before, fan choice, talking about weapons, talking about what would be your location geographically, or even if it wasn't necessarily a geographical location, what would be best for housing to keep you safe, or a small group of people safe at least.
We're going to see what you guys have in your mind. How would you survive the apocalypse? Then we could move on to maybe a specific character that kind of got the limelight that episode, right? So we want to discuss them, kind of delve deep into their little mini arc that episode, if they had one, or what impact they had to other characters' arcs that episode, and kind of discuss and break it down for you guys.
Right. Some characters, they have more of an impact than all the others in that specific episode, whether it's them killing someone, them dying, or them doing something that affects everybody, right?
Right.
Appreciations are something that we're bringing back, though. We're talking about appreciating different Walker scenes, whether they're kills, just production scenes in general, how they photograph everything. Appreciations, and of course the acting.
Yeah, of course. Anything that we kind of appreciate about the art of the show, in all aspects.
You can't go wrong with
the predictions.
Yeah, and, round it off with predictions is the way to go, right?
Right, because we love the predictions here. We'll be jumping into some of those kind of in general about this season as well. But you know what? As episodes go on and we predict what we think might happen, we also might throw in something for the fans and ask you guys what do you think's going to happen in the next episode, and maybe get a little discussion going.
And it's zombie apocalypse, baby. Everyone wants to know who's next.
Right.
Who's next? Who's going to die
Who's
next?
getting the chopping block?
No one's safe, right? As they say on The Talking Dead.
Right.
Well, that's another discussion.
Yeah,
We'll get there in a minute. But then we'll preview the next show.
Right.
We'll talk about the little preview that they gave us on AMC, and then we'll also talk about what it looks like is coming, right?
Right. And then to set it off, we got something a little special to end each episode, the final blast. Essentially our final thoughts, our little stamp of approval or disapproval on the episode.
Yes,
all
exactly.
All within intelligent kind of dialect to go along with it.
Yes, I mean, if it's not too intelligent, let us know. Comment.
Right.
Tell us to,
Some episodes we might be kind of pissed in the final blast.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all together, that's kind of how we will roll.
And let me
with
just
the
say
episodes
this,
in the
Aaron.
future.
If Rick dies tonight, episode 1, when you guys tune in next week, we're gonna hang in there. We're gonna see how things turn out, because we don't know if Rick's gonna die in episode 1, 2, 3, or like right before the mid-season finale. But for sure, I think the first 8 episodes are his last.
Yeah,
or less.
whether he
8 or
ends on
less.
if it's a predictable mid-season finale ending, or he just kind of gets blasted off in the first quarter of the season. We're gonna ride it out regardless, even with the second half of the season. But man, oh man, we have some words for the.
I'm excited though, because
yes.
they're going into DC. And they're, obviously it's filmed in Atlanta, but I'm sure they do a great job with their green screen action and their graphics, and they make it look like DC. Obviously, they have rebuilded, but they're still going to scavenge the big city, and they're looking for everything from wagons and old museums to, supplies of any sort. And I have a hunch that Rick will survive this first episode. I think
the first
gonna
episode
be focused about that.
Yeah, I think what they will do definitely before they kind of kill him off or let him go proper, they will for sure probably have. Hopefully, this is more of me being fanboy for Rick Grimes, but I'm gonna say they'll do him justice and give him like one last or if not his most badass scene he's ever had.
Yeah, I hope so, because on these little sneak peek previews with the crappy music, they keep showing this part where he's like sleeping in a tent or something like it, and there's like a walker leaning over him with a few busted teeth about to like take a bite, and it's only a quick second, but it's like, really? I'm like, I hope that's not a teaser for his actual death.
I wouldn't think so.
I hope it's just
Hopefully
a teaser
not.
for like an exciting moment that he
Right.
just wakes up and then stabs the thing in the eye or whatever.
Yeah, he's more of a nonchalant,
Yeah.
All right,
Comes
well.
natural reflexes by this point.
Right, he's like, yeah, exactly. He's like Ultra Instinct, Rick Grimes. So, we're going to go ahead and get going on a pre-discussion / synopsis of Season 8 in general. We'll have just a general slide of some of our favorite scenes from Season 8 going on in the back while we discuss it.
Let them flow in the background while we discuss.
Whereas on episodes in the future, we will be more decisive, and the pictures will go along with the discussion one by one based on how we're breaking down that review. But since we're being general on Season 8, we'll keep it pretty general, and then after we discuss this, we'll move on to what we have to predict for Season 9 and what we have to say to the producers of The Walking Dead. So before we do that, let's have a little fun, guys, right?
Fun guy.
Fun guys. Fun guy with the fun guys. Let's see here. Let's get my cool new frame up. You guys like that now? And let's go ahead
Give
and
us some likes here, ladies and gentlemen. Even if you're watching this delayed, or even after you didn't get your Walking Dead fix after the show, or even after Talking Dead, and you just need more of that treatment, so to speak. You know, you're alone, or whoever's with you is sleeping, and you're up and you're in shock. Join us. Doesn't have to be live. Whenever you can. Yeah,
whenever you can. You know, it's a pre-show here. We'll do it before each episode each week and review the prior episode, and it's kind of how we roll. We want you guys to kind of get ready for the night ahead.
Great pictures here, everybody.
Yeah, there's some good pictures, man. There's flowing through the background, and just things to remind you as we discuss Season 8. Yeah. So, shall we?
Yeah, so Season 8 starts with Mercy. The plan goes into effect and to take the Saviors down. And, man, I mean, really, Episode 1 for sure, but to tell you the truth, the whole first half of the season was action packed.
It really
It's
was.
the
I mean,
second
right
half that kind of sucked some balls, right?
Right.
But it started off, the plan goes into effect, and Morgan, Carol, and Tara and Daryl, they set up the whole herd thing and explosives, and they're getting everything set up while the rest of I call them the Tri-Towns, because the 3 communities,
Right.
they're attacking the sanctuary, and that was a great scene because Rick, his countdown when he got to 7, he started blasting away, but all of it, like, you don't realize Negan's actually nervous as hell. But then, but then episodes later, you see like what was been happening behind the walls of the sanctuary, and building up to that scene. So that's really cool. I kind of liked how they did that without us waiting too long. But the next episode, though, episode 2, was just more of the outposts, where they would go to the outposts and try to, while Negan's pinned in the sanctuary, take out all of his outposts. And then episode 3 was called Monsters. That was about morality proves to be tricky at wartime, and Morales from season 1.
Yeah,
episodes
that was crazy.
Episodes 1 through 4 or whatever.
Right.
He dies. Gracie the baby's discovered though. Aaron's love dies. Morgan struggles with taking prisoners versus killing them because of the whole Rick thing and his clearness and all that. And Ezekiel's group succeeds twice. Then the third time they get ambushed, and
it's pretty brutal, man.
It's brutal. I mean, you can see in these slides, you may or may not see some Ezekiel pictures or not, but he goes from, and then I smile, to, I'm just some guy.
Looking through a gaping gap of a guy slashed in half by an axe.
Yeah, good old Jerry and his double-sided axe. That was a great scene. Right there, you can see right there. Oh my God. I mean, I can go on and on about the first 8 episodes, but Some Guy was pretty good, but I think my favorite part of Some Guy, the episode 4, was when Carol is inside of, I guess it would be the outpost of Gavin, because she's looking for the big weaponry there, and she finds it, but she doesn't know how to take these guys out, so she goes in the ceiling boards. Right. And she shoots them through the ceiling boards, and then that's great. She
pulls a fucking Spider-Man on those.
Good old Carol, man. We can talk about any season of her besides season 1 of something surprising and explosive, impactful, all that. But episode 5 was the big scary you. It was inside look at the sanctuary, which we already discussed. But it really shows Eugene helping Gabriel while Eugene's actually also helping Negan. Right. So you don't really know where the flow is with Eugene at the time, though we were tired of him, right? Like, time to go, Eugene. But episode 6, The King, the Widow, and Rick, I mean, enough said there. It's about the 3 leaders that Negan wants them to be imprisoned and put on the fence and become walkers, and then everyone else can pretty much die. But episode 7, A Time for After, both plans continue. Rick goes to the dump, though, and he has to fight the walker on the stick, rips it off. That might be a picture in here. But he after being captured and stripped down to his undies and thrown into like a locker, only to be photographed and eventually killed to become a sculpture of Jadis, he overpowers both the guy that's feeding the walker to him as well as Jadis, and there's a scene where he's got the head on the floor and Jadis's face right there, and he's like, now what do you say? Like that's called negotiating right there.
Absolutely.
101. That's why we're gonna miss Rick so much. You're not gonna see that anymore. And if it's Negan that's doing that kind of stuff, no.
Right. It's gonna be all showboaty bullshit.
Episode 8, though, that was the last really good episode of season 8. That was called How It's Gonna Be. Dwight switches sides at the Daryl group roadblock thing, and it's action packed, and they discover the sanctuary plan went awry. At least Rick does after his imprisonation at the dump, and Aaron and Eden go to Oceanside. Whack whack, who cares? Rick commandeers Judas's group, and then they flee. Carl writes his goodbye letters. We already knew he was bit at that point, I'm pretty sure. And then Simon has his nighttime road surprise that eventually backfires because Maggie keeps the coffin and whatnot.
Right.
But Carl and Alexandra, definitely. That was a great scene where he foils Negan's plans, kind of. He's standing on the top of the fence, and he tells Negan, like, you're going to kill someone, kill me, because he knew he was dying.
Right.
Negan didn't know that, and, man, that was some great acting on both their parts.
It was, very much so.
But at the time, like, you're thinking, like, okay, so if he fooled Negan, like, they're going to get out of this, but instead they end up hiding out in the sewers, and then episodes 9 through 16, or at least 9 through like 14, get really slow. Like the mission's still there.
Mission's still there.
They're still riding around doing some fun
but they
stuff.
really ride that swan song.
But yeah, the swan song of Carl was a rough one, and it was unfortunate we had to start Walker Talkers here on PanNerdia.
All with that.
With the swan song of
Swan
Carl.
song.
But all the core members, though, by episode 9 were making dire decisions. The Alexandrians are trapped in the sewers. Carol and Morgan put on their show at the Kingdom, which was awesome. Episode 9 actually was pretty good just because Carol and Morgan. That's when Morgan pulled the guy's guts out on the stage.
Oh, yeah, like Terminator Morgan.
Yes.
Hey, real quick, what up, Tommy P. Films? What's going on, man? Thanks for joining us here on PanNerdia for
Welcome.
the Walker Talkers.
Now, episode 10, that was the Lost and the Plundered, and Simon obliterates the dump people. And Aaron and Enid finally make the Oceanside people sort of listen, but the forces all converge at Hilltop, though. You know, all the good guys are converging there eventually to help out at Hilltop, and that's also a classic episode. I'm not sure if it's episode 10 or 11, but where Jadis does the meat grinding.
Oh, the meat grinding.
Yes.
Once Simon just
Blasts
obliterates,
everyone, yeah.
which is very unfortunate.
Light him up, fellas!
Oh,
That's
man.
what, then
I was have to think, at that point, you either think Simon's dying at the end of this episode, or he's dying
sure.
very soon because Negan's gonna find that shit out.
Right.
But yeah, the whole meat grinder thing, it was pretty gnarly. I mean, whoever thought that idea?
Eventually, when we get to best ofs, starting on our next program, and then throughout the rest of the season, when we get to season 8, I can tell you right now, as far as Walker horde scenes or death scenes, that was the best.
That was one of the best. Yeah.
Everything from like it being at the dump and her being in her like nightie because everything else is whatever gone, and she flips the switch, and as they're grinding down, her face is like as she's watching it, like she like feels their pain or whatever.
Oh gosh!
But the graphics combined with the special effects for that scene, mwah,
pretty
excellent.
gnarly. Yeah, they definitely did a good job there, man. It was kind of a combination of all their efforts there.
Yeah,
special effects wise.
The key. Obviously, that episode's about Georgie, the blonde lady that looks like a cleaned-up politician.
Oh yeah, the ones
she
that
shows up with the girls.
Yeah, who we are presuming are part of the
Commonwealth.
Commonwealth.
Sorry.
Yes.
It's been a while since we've been on Walker Talkers, but I do remember this much: Libersticky, Clumph, and Moisture.
I do remember those words because they made me laugh out loud because they were so absurd and out of place.
Out of place, but you know what? There were some parts of Walking Dead season 8 where they tried to throw a little comedy in there and it did not work.
Right.
Like the Tara and Rosita and the stacking of the boxes, whatever. But this was perfectly timed because it was way too intense. You had all these strong women in this scene,
right,
facing Georgie and her women, and they're ready to blast them away and just take their van with the big fucking monster truck wheels.
Right.
And instead, they make a deal, and it's all about exchanging information that's going to benefit everybody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, records.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Final Records did the trick for the notebook. It's called The Key to Building and Growing and organizing.
It's awesome. It's a really good idea for something like that. It was like that dude back in season 3.
And DIY on syphilis. Oh, sorry. That's the apocalypse.
Right, you need that shit, right? Because
Yeah.
you know everybody's getting it on. What else would you be doing? Only if the show's on HBO, right?
Yeah, it would be a whole different program. Matter of fact, watching season 2, and Maggie hooking up with Glenn in the pharmacy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like if that was on HBO,
right.
holy
It'd be a whole different level. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yes. But yeah, it's kind of similar with how they're exchanging knowledge. It kind of goes back to like season 3. It was one of the governor's dudes, the guy with the glasses, who he was actually like kept recording. I can't remember if he had a recorder, like digital recorder, or if he was writing it in a book. But all the events, like marking them down, like so if somebody finds it, they can like make like a new history book based on that. That's pretty cool.
Was it the guy that was helping him try to figure out if
about
trying to help the governor trying to figure out if people actually can come back or have a glimmer of light, flicker of light back there?
That guy.
Boy, was he wrong.
Yeah.
But you know what? He took out Andrea for us, and as much as we love Andrea in the comic, the actress is good, but I don't know if it was her or just the writing they gave her, but it was time for her to go, man.
Yeah, it was by that point. It really was.
But back to season 8, episode 13. our boy Tobin dies.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Beerus the Destroyer.
Beerus the Destroyer, the voice of Dragon Ball, also known as Tobin. Not Michael Douglas.
Jason Douglas.
Jason Douglas, yeah. It's a common name, but he's a great fellow, and it was sad to see him go because he was kind of the staple cornerstone, soft-spoken guy. You know,
he was, yeah. You know, Carol's slam piece here and there.
Yeah, well, she's moving on to dreadlocks these days, I think.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think she's found a new pole.
Still Gotta Mean Something was episode 14. Negan gets Mr. 90-Degree Walker. Another great Walker scene.
It was a very good Walker scene.
Not as great as the meat grinder, but I would say right there with the Walker on a stick to Rick. This was up to par with that. This Walker was huge.
Yeah, it was a pretty big one.
Looked like a 7'5" dude or something, folded backwards
on like a Home Depot like
tray
plywood
thing.
cart.
And then his eyes are covered, but his mouth is there. That way, the top of his head's covered with metal, so he can't get killed.
Right.
So his mouth is just available to just munch away. And
That was pretty gnarly.
We thought, well, maybe Negan will get a nice little, he'll be a nice little buffet for Mr. 90-Degree. But of course, he got out of that one.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
How convenient! Her favorite pictures and a gun were under the tarp where he was laying.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
But episode 15 was worth, and episode 16 you guys probably all just finished watching because you're getting ready to, if not already starting to watch, episode 1 of season 9.
Right.
And that's where the iconic scene at the end where Rick takes the shard of glass, and slices Negan's neck open.
Yep.
And that's up to par with the comic, and we love it. Only thing is he's imprisoned, and I understand that's also kind of up to par with it, but I think most fans were just as upset as Maggie was. Like, she wanted him dead right then and there.
Yeah, Maggie was, she was very upset. And she had a right to be because, it was all built up to take this guy down. And because of this connection with Rick's son and what he specifically wrote not only to Rick, but since he wrote a letter to Negan as well.
Yes.
It kept Rick from killing Negan because Carl wanted to see that better future, and Rick wants to do whatever he needs for Carl. So ultimately, this season, really, I think the person who affected the most was Carl, hands down, because he affected the ultimate decision at the end, which is going to propel a perhaps vendetta
dream,
with Maggie.
His vision, his dream that is what everyone's trying to carry out, or at least Rick is, right? Rick and Michonne.
Rick and Michonne, but not everybody wants to agree with that because some people want revenge on their loved ones who were killed.
I don't.
Hence Maggie.
This is. Can I do a little sound off about that?
Right. Let's do it.
I mean, let me tell you, folks. When I see Chris Hardwick go on Talking Dead and talk about, who are really the bad guys and good guys, right? Like, who's the antagonist, protagonist? Because it could be, if you look through anyone's backstory and eyes, maybe Rick and his group are the bad guy. Bullshit. Okay, I got to call BS on that. Because, first of all, Negan, even though he's got that rule, we don't rape, like, okay, sure, he's got that rule. That's for his people, not for him, though. Right. Because he's having unconsensual sex with these girls. They're doing his every bidding, right? Right,
and they're trapped by him, essentially.
And they're trapped. They're prisoners. So he's got slaves also. That's number 2. That whole community down there, besides his thugs on the 2nd or 3rd floor, are women and children and stuff that are not only his slaves, basically, but he scars them mentally and physically, right? So there's torture involved. Right. So this guy's a rapist. He tortures, and he imprisonates, right? And it's fucking disgusting. Like, you think that's a way to live? The sanctuary with freaking courtyard full of dead walkers chained to the link, and they're all people that you love or know. Like, this guy is horrible. He deserves a slow, painful death. Not a shot in the head, not a stab through the gullet or whatever. He needs to suffer. He needs his face burned. He needs finger chopped off, maybe a foot, so he can't go anywhere. But make sure you sew him up, sear him shut. Make sure he looks so nasty that even if he did try to seduce a girl that he could probably seduce on his own with his own charm, she would be like, I don't think so. So that's my little sound off on that. So every time Chris Hardwick's on Talking Dead and he mentions something like, well, who's really the bad guy or good guy? Who's really the antagonist and all that? Whatever.
Yeah, because
Negan
ultimately
needs to go down, and he needs to feel it too.
Right.
At the hands of Maggie, whoever, needs to happen.
Any villain that we've run into on this show against Rick have always been worse than Rick's code. Rick's only done what they've had to survive, but they've never done anything to deliberately harm somebody who didn't deserve it.
Yeah, and you know what? It would be a great thing to do sometime during season 9 coming up here to make Negan physically and mentally suffer to an extreme. Because when the governor was the main bad guy back when, he got shot, he experienced a little pain, but he got his head lopped off too or something, got stabbed through the...
Right.
Oh yeah, Michonne stabbed him, right? And then also the chick that the daughter that died also shot him.
Yeah.
So like he didn't really feel enough pain, I don't think. So that now fast forward to Negan, this guy's 10 times worse.
10 times worse.
10 times worse because at least the governor kept his whole secret life a secret and his whole agenda a secret.
Yep.
And he was super nice and giving people ice water to drink and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to defend the guy, but throwing Merlin to have some like shows beating up walkers is really mild compared to what Negan's been up to.
Yeah, Negan's a whole different beast. He's to the point where he's completely embodied it and embraced what it is. I mean, to be evil in the apocalypse, man. But speaking of that evil, I mean, and what Maggie thinks of it, I think she's ultimately extremely pissed, like we said, about how that ended. And it's kind of a good transition to what we kind of think was going to happen in season 9.
Yes.
A big prediction I told Pete, even something that I kind of want to see happen because I think it's going to make a really good story, and I kind of want it to lead into why Rick is getting off this season, and it all has to do with Maggie. And I think ultimately, you know, you saw how they kind of had that story built up at the end of season.
The Godfather scene at the end, you mean?
Yeah, where Maggie's like, you know,
at the desk in the darkness.
She's like, I gotta fucking like, you know, plan for Rick kind of thing. She might be the one to kill Rick. Now, that being said,
that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Maybe it'll start off by she trying to sneak in and kill Negan, like you said, and she's the one who mutilates him. And then they find out, and then Rick gets mad at her for doing it.
No.
You don't think something like that'll happen?
That would be great.
That'd be great.
But it's not going to happen like that, I don't think.
And then she's like, well,
because
I can't get Negan.
That would satisfy us way too much.
Then I'm going to get fucking Rick. And then that's what happens. What if they build it up? That'd be great.
Well, they don't care about the fans.
But, yeah, they really don't.
Come on.
That's where, like, I'm hoping that with Rick, he has a really super badass moment before he goes. And I hope how he goes, it's so good that it's going to be Maggie killing him. Because that's the only thing that I think will build up a lot of tension and be devastating for everybody, but in like a nice, complete way for the story. I think they do it right.
I'm just confused if their version of doing it right is having the Greek guy Sandemus do all those slow shots, which are great and wonderful, but is it going to be one of those like swan song goodbyes like Carl had? Probably not, but I bet you it'll be some medium ground there. In other words, it'll be like not a quick death, but not a long drawn out goodbye. It'll be somewhere in between. But his death, whether it's explosive or stabbing or shooting or whatever, maybe even a poisoning, who knows, maybe just a walker bite, you know. But however it goes down, we want it to have meaning, and we want it to affect everybody in the Walking Dead world, not just Hilltop, Alexandria, and Kingdom. We want it to affect them. I understand that Andy Lincoln said that the way that they did it, his death is a launching pad that's going to like change everything, and it's going to be so great and so different. Well, we know that.
Cause maybe it's like a big sacrifice.
Yeah, it's probably a big sacrifice. And whether he jumps into something or explodes himself with other...
Or wears like a flare gun jacket and makes all this giant herd follow him over a cliff.
My prediction is unfortunate because I don't want it to happen. But I really do think that Rick's going to die here in the first 4 episodes. And they might have a little more flashback action, just small flashbacks to see how it actually built up before it went down in the next 4 episodes before the mid-season finale. But I also predict that as much as I want Rick to be the one to lead the charge and take out the Whisperers, which we'll talk about in a second here, it's probably going to be Negan. You know what I mean? I don't want Rick's head to be on a pike instead of Ezekiel or whoever else. Let that be some other big-time characters and not Rick. Rick's head should not be on a pike.
No, it should not.
And that would be a horrible way to end it because, like, how lame and like goofy would that be?
Yeah, they need to end it respectful. They really do. They
It's
need
gonna
a
be
badass.
Negan taking out the leader of the Whisperers at the very end after a lot of people have died,
Right.
and they're gonna do that whole transition thing to make him the new good guy.
Yeah, because he'll like come in and like save the day.
Or a co-good guy where like Daryl's bad and good, Negan's bad and good, so they're like the two separate like heads that are gonna
Right.
take on season 10 after Denai and Cohen leave.
Right. Yeah, because they're out too.
Yeah, we know that Maggie's gonna probably not last the whole season, and if she does, she's not gonna return. And we know that the Michonne character is not signed on at all for anything. And they just finished production back at the end of summertime, I guess. So she might be done filming.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Denai might be done filming
thing
for
is,
Walking Dead.
Yeah, after Rick goes, it's like she doesn't really have much story because her arc's kind of done, man. I mean, she's like, she found a family to a degree. Now her family's about to be ripped off. So if anything, she's just gonna go out with a blaze of glory too and be pissed that she doesn't have anything left.
Because this is Walker Talkers, we'll mention the comic. In the comic, Michonne and Eugene and some other characters find maybe Georgie, maybe a character like Georgie, and they go to the Commonwealth.
Right.
And Michonne sees a picture of, have you seen my mom? And it's a picture of Michonne as a lawyer or something.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, my daughter's alive. She's got a
man.
daughter that's
yeah.
that's like a 20-year-old girl at this point, or I don't know, older
Forgot about
teenager or
that.
something.
Yeah.
And she's at the Commonwealth. So Michonne does have in the comic quite an arc. Like she goes on, even though Carl's alive still, Rick's still alive and all that in the comic.
Right.
There's a separation there because I don't think there's the big love interest there.
Yeah, that's
they,
not
they,
there,
they
though.
flipped it all around there, which
Right.
is fine. But at the same time, man, I hope my predictions are wrong.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, as the main characters go, they're going to try to build up the secondary characters to fill in the spots, which is going to be very hard to fill in the shoes. And in the meantime, they're going to be probably hiring a freaking slew of new actors to fill in not only the new, society they're building, but also what they might build to the Commonwealth and the Whisperers. So, we got those guys joining this season, and though we aren't familiar with the actors' names yet, we'll be introduced with them pretty soon. Episode 1? I don't know.
I don't know. I have a hunch that they'll probably introduce the Whisperers, not the main characters of the Whisperers, but just the Whisperers in general. Existing
right.
at the very end of episode 1 or episode 2, because we did see some little reels of Norman Reedus and
I think it was Eugene actually, Eugene and Rosita.
Okay, I thought it was Daryl and Rosita, but it might have been Eugene and Rosita. But they're like trying to muck up themselves in mud and stuff in a ditch that's just below like a little roadway or walkway or something, and there's just a huge horde. And as they're trying to cover themselves up, they're acting so good with their eyes. Their eye acting so good. They're like, they're looking at each other and like looking around like this. Like, what is that? Are we really hearing actual words being whispered? Mm-hmm. It's like, or is that just like Scooby-Doo sounds that sound like? No, but no, really, that's probably how it's going to go down. But
yeah, I would agree with that. I think they'll kind of introduce them slowly, and then maybe mid-season will. Now, this could be a whole thing too. Perhaps one of the leaders of them take out Rick, which would be a crazy way to introduce them.
Oh yeah, that's true. I guess that would be a launch pad, right?
Yeah.
Like he dies, and then the whole whisper thing really takes off.
Right. Like he maybe unveils them right before he dies. That there's
Screw that.
humans.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I hope not either. I hope they're just kind of built up, and then after Rick goes, they got to face this new threat without Rick, kind of thing.
Keep going for a second.
All right.
All right, grab.
Yeah, but essentially just keep the story going without Rick in a good way, though. Who knows if we'll be back next season for that. But regardless of that, whatever they do with Rick, I hope that they kind of build him up. We had mentioned this last season on the Walker Talkers. I hope they build him up like a legend, that he's so respected that people for decades and decades to come, even maybe a century to come after this, they will know the name Rick Grimes and how he helped push the right group forward, the group that will eventually restart society. I feel like he's like that, one of those perfect keys to push society, and he will be one of the factors that cause society to grow.
You know what's hard to do besides seeing Andrew Lincoln's character go?
What's that?
Is to say Rick Grimes without saying Rick Grimes like I'm saying it right now. I cannot just say Rick Grimes. It hurts.
Right.
I gotta say it with just a little bit of a fake accent. Rick Grimes.
It's like Carl even saying Coral.
Coral.
You know,
We're gonna miss that. We're gonna miss that. We're gonna have a little explosive tribute to Rick even before he dies, probably on our next program. We really need to watch episode 1 of season 9 here because there's only so much that you can predict.
Yeah, there's only so much in general of the season.
I say we get right to it real soon.
But before we do that, let's give our maybe our last little thoughts and rants on Mr. Gimple / the producers of this show, because we're not going to get into too much of this as this show goes on unless something really pisses us off per episode.
Well, I'll tell you what.
But right now, we're going into this pretty heated.
This isn't like a heated thing about Gimple the person. He might be a good dad, good husband, a friend of I don't know about the whole cast. I think there's a lot of people that probably fear him or hate him,
right?
But secretly, they're not going to say that on AMC, and neither is Chris Hardwick.
No, considering
he's basically their boss because he is the showrunner over all of the universe of Walking Dead. But yeah, I think we really saw a difference when Gimple took over. I guess midway season 2 or maybe at the beginning of season 3. He was a writer, then he slowly worked his way in, and some of the stuff he brought in was great, like Terminus and whatnot. Some of the stuff he brought in also, the slower paced stuff, like for instance, what's our boy's name with the hammer? Chop his arm off. Tyrese. Like that was way too dragged out. Another one was the Coda episode with Amy, the sister of Maggie or whatever. Like that was way too drawn out, but still good. And considering the season's X amount long, it's okay. But now we got to the point where he killed Carl off. And the way he did it was unprofessional. And I can't really say that's 100% the way he did it, but he basically didn't really let everyone know until right before they started shooting. And if I'm wrong about that time frame. But I'll tell you what, once you kill off Carl, you kill off all the hope for the show, the future.
There's a chain reaction.
Judith, I don't think so. You're gonna. I mean, I can see where you're going with it. You're gonna hire some nice actress, and then another one to take her spot when you keep jumping forward. But Carl is Carl. Carl is Carl. Carl is Carl. Carl is. It was supposed to be Carl
to the fucking end. It was Carl and Rick to the fucking end.
In saying that, and this is how Gimple talks. In saying that, he's sitting on the couch.
I hate it.
That's why I take his tie and ring it around his neck.
I know.
Smack him a couple times, Three Stooges style.
Fucking brown jacket. Rip it over his head and do a fucking
he wears brown
Happy
jackets.
Gilmore uppercut.
He wears brown jackets all the time because he's getting brown nosed by everyone that works for him all the time. He doesn't realize how much harm he's doing.
Right.
But now I forgot what I was going to say.
Altogether, man. I mean, it's supposed to be Rick and Carl.
Oh yeah, no, this is what I was going to say. Sorry. So it hurts everyone watching the show. It hurts everyone. But you know what hurts the most? Rick, the character. Whether Andrew is going to stay and not go back to England and be with his family, which he definitely deserves to do.
Right.
But it hurts the Rick Grimes character because, what does he have to live for? Okay, yeah, his friends, his new family, kind of, Michonne, Judith, and all that. But Judith is not his blood.
Right.
Michonne's not really his love. He loves her. I don't know if he's in love with her, but he loves her to death, of course. Right. But once Carl's gone, that ripped Michonne up, that ripped, Rick up, and it really makes you wonder, Rick would be more willing to die more than ever now. Mm-hmm. So I hope he doesn't just give in too easily when he leaves the show.
Right.
And one last thing, I really hope that the unbelievable happens, and he leaves the show, but doesn't necessarily physically die. He dies, but does he die? We don't get a 100% confirmation.
Right.
Because who knows? Maybe by season 11, when they've had 2 seasons of failure, they can bring him back somehow in a big surprise, and man, that would erupt the Walking Dead universe.
They could do something like that, man.
In a good way.
It could either be a good or bad thing, but right now they're not doing the best things, and they're trying for something different, but like we said before, it's the Rick and Carl show. It should have been to the end, man, regardless. Yeah. They should have been freaking doing everything they could to keep these guys on the show, and if it means keeping Carl on the show, keeping Rick on the show because it's a chain reaction. Because now Maggie's leaving, Denai's leaving.
And then Lenny James are jerking him around like
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. We didn't want to even talk about the Fear of Walking Dead tonight because where it's going.
No, but you can see where it's going is back to Alexandria. Maybe,
and might be ending and combining with The Walking Dead and
being
Morgan.
One show, right?
Morgan, what's going to happen with him?
I know. I mean, he is the only other person besides Rick that's like an original from episode 1, kind of thing. But you can't do this back and forth with that character too much, where he's going to kill everyone, he's going to save everyone, kill everyone, save everyone. So there's only so much you can take. So hopefully they merge the shows and everyone doesn't watch.
Right, because and mostly, this is another thing too. Like, look, they built up other characters obviously in the show, but if it comes to any consideration based on other shows and comparing, they didn't build up the other secondary actors as much as they should have, because other shows, like say for example on HBO or something, they will take a character that you think is the main character and they'll kill him off, but they have so many other quote-unquote main characters, not even secondary but main, that they can still support the show and they're that good. Even if a couple seasons later they die, they still have a couple main actors that are keeping that thing going that you want to root for. But this show's not doing that as much. Like, sorry for all the Daryl fans out there, he is awesome, but ultimately his story arc hasn't been that crazily great.
His story arc really that's quiet. Peppered with one-liners.
One-liners, exactly. So it's like he's not gonna fill Rick's shoes. I'm sorry. Negan's got the charisma.
And the confidence.
And
that's it.
The fill Rick's shoes, but that's it too. And it's kind of like, that's almost like the new guy coming to work and like taking over as manager before somebody else who deserves it, kind of thing, right? So there's that aspect. And then there's, Lauren Maggie, who was definitely the next in line after Rick, I would say, even over Michonne, and way over, or
Rick even told her, he's given her the keys. He told her in the last season, he's like, when this is over, I'm following you.
And they can't keep her either because Scott Gimple probably pisses her, or she's pissed off by Scott so easily probably at this point. She probably hates his little fucking troll ass.
That's it. She needs to be on PanNerdia. We just need to have her on here instead of Jackson.
She can come down on a string and sit between us, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our little rant on Scott Gimple and the production. They have a new showrunner now taking over, so I'm excited to see what she can do. Kang, I'm excited to see what she can do, and hopefully she gives a proper send-off to Rick Grimes, but hopefully...
I think she'll tell the story pretty well. It's just too bad that it's happening. And I know Andrew Lincoln wanted no one to know. He wanted to be a surprise, but I'm kind of glad we do, because here on PanNerdia, we put a lot of pride into this, and we really enjoy it, and it's one of the best shows we've seen in the last, 10 years. You know what I mean? And we don't want to see it go up in flames like this. Yeah,
or we don't want to see it ever... we want to see it end on a good note if it's going to end. Not end on a shambly, fuckwad note. So, with all that being said, guys, we want to thank you all for stopping by our the Walker Talkers pre-show, our Walking Dead Season 9 review show here on PanNerdia. We had a great time, and we're excited to come back next week for our next show, which will not be live, but... we will have it ready for you guys regardless next Sunday, like always, and we'll continue to do that until the mid-season finale.
Yes.
But again, thanks for joining us, guys. And if you want to catch us over on the Twitch PanNerdia channel, twitch.tv/PanNerdia, here in about 30 minutes or so, around 9 o'clock, we're going to jump on Twitch and we're going to be watching it. Yeah, and you guys can just jump on and flip on Walking Dead with us and just kind of sit and watch it with us. Yeah. We won't be showing it on Twitch, but you guys can see our faces as we watch it ourselves. So, thank you so much for joining us, guys. We appreciate it. AA Ron here.
Jackson and Pete.
And I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you guys next time.
And always, in the world of The Walking Dead, enjoy the enjoyment.